Tell me a little bit about about New Orleans. In that, why do you think it was that Art Roop wanted Little Richard to record at Cosmo's New Orleans? What was so special about that?
Well, they tell me that was one of the most. I don't know how you would place it, but that was one where everybody came, even from overseas, to record. He had all kind of equipment, and it was, I don't know, it looked like a barn, but it was, it was sound, the acoustics, you didn't have that to worry about, and the people that came there to record, they liked it. And so when they came to New Orleans and they got in touch with Cosmo, they said that they wanted to use his studio. And that's how it came about.
Did they have a really special group of musicians there that worked out of that studio? With the sound they got was so unique?
Well, I tell you, they had guys who knew what they were doing, like Edgar Blanchard, one that was on the lead guitar. They had Red Tyler, Lee Allen, and I'm telling you, when they got together, you had something. They only make noise today. You don't know who's doing what. But they had those guys who would stay around the studio. Now, if you brought your own in, it was all right. But they would wind up with Lee Allen and them because they really knew what they were doing. And today, I don't know if he's yet working, but the last time I was in California, he was still out there. He went to Nevada to work. Yeah.
Let me ask you something a little bit different now about the influence of the church and in rhythm and blues music. I mean, I think with Little Richard, could he sing the way he does if he hadn't been raised up in the church? Doesn't a lot of his style come from there?
Well, a lot of style came from the church. But this is my saying, that when God gave you a talent, look at it. You can do whatever you want to do. But those songs that were being sung then, most times was related to people because they had such a hard time living. And then in love, that would, they didn't get out and get a gun and go shoot you because I fell in love with him and he got somebody else. But songs like on Johnny Adams, I wrote I Won't Cry sitting under a tree. I was very upset with my boyfriend. And
what about Tutti Frutti, though? Now, that's not...
Yeah, but I'm going back to Tutti Frutti. Now, songs like that was songs that was soul-stirring. Little Richard sang soul-stirring songs like from... they used to have a gospel choir. And I think Little Richard used to lead in this. And the young man could really sing. And a lot of that was taken from the church and placed into rock and roll. But I never did take the songs from the church and place into rock and roll. It only came because of what I heard when I wrote.
But it seemed like there's a lot of similarity in music between Saturday night and Sunday morning. I mean, there was a lot. The energy was so much the same. Do you think?
Not exactly. You mean in those days? Well, not to me, not exactly. Like I said, they wrote songs that were with a feeling of as how they lived in that day. You see, now today, you compare yesterday with today, and you find out you don't have to worry because you'll make $600 and $700 and think nothing of it. But when you made $1.50 a week, honey, you were doing something. My $1.50 took me more than where you would take $25 a day and go and spend it for a whole month, because I knew how to maneuver. Take that $1.50 and make it go a long ways.
Let's cut for a minute, please.
Okay.
So you were starting to tell me again about how Tutti Frutti got started. Little Richard was singing a lot of songs with pretty nasty lyrics.
Yes, nasty.
Tell me about
nasty. He would sing a dirty blues that would make your hair curl. And I couldn't take it. So I began to tell them about some of the songs that, the blues songs. As far as for Tutti Frutti, it was already done. But I wrote a lot of love songs.
Tell me about, I know we did it already, but tell me again about how how Richard came to record Tutti Frutti.
I told you in 15 minutes I sat down and wrote Tutti Frutti in the corner. I asked him what he liked, I listened to his voice, and I sat down and I wrote it. In other words, I already had the title of it, because like I said, when my girlfriend and I went to the drugstore and I wanted vanilla ice cream, she said, they got a new one. So it said Tutti Frutti. I said, oh, Rudy. I said, oh, I got a song. And I threw it on back in my mind and went on. But when the time came and I went to the studio, like I said, I went into the room by myself in a corner, and I wrote Tutti Frutti. When I came back out and he stood at the piano, he never sat down to play. Never had, not that I've ever seen him sit down. He went to banging and bamming and hollering, and then I took the song up and began to sing. Oh, one bum a lump bam boom Tutti Frutti. See, I can sing the whole song completely through. So he couldn't take now a word from mine. And when I come to find out, they said 2 or 3 people had written Tutti Frutti. I said they couldn't. But then Art Roop, when Cosimo called him, because they had told Cosimo that I didn't write it. And Cosimo was the one that caused me today to be where I'm at. Cosimo called Art Roop in California. And Art Roop got in touch with me, and my mother had had a stroke. And I said to him, he said, you need some money? He said, I heard you wrote that song I listened to. I said, yes. I said, how much money would you want? And I thought $50 was a whole lot of money. I said, I could use $50. No, he said, you look for $500 in the morning. And he sent me $500. And the next week he sent another $500. When he sent me the big check, I got $2,454.78. Ask me and I'll tell you the same thing all over again. That's been years. That was my first big check that I got from Tutti Frutti.
Please. Thank you.
We still rolling?
We just cut.
Okay.
That was a tail slate.
$50 was a whole lot of money. I said, I could use $50. No, he said, you look for $500 in the morning. And he sent me $500. And the next week he sent another $500. When he sent me the big check, I got $2,454.78. Ask me and I'll tell you the same thing all over again. That's been years. That was my first big check that I got from Tutti Frutti.
Please.
Mark.
Now, after Richard recorded Tutti Frutti, then you get Pat Boone coming around.
Yes, he
recording
did.
Tutti Frutti.
Right.
Tell me about that. Was that something that you welcomed, or did you feel that you really wrote it for Little Richard, and what's this Pat Boone guy doing?
Let me know in the comments. What were your thoughts about Little Richard as well as his music?
No, not exactly, because when I've been around the studio and talking with different people that come from all around the world, they said, girl, you got something anytime Pat Boone wanted. And then Martha Ray. And then here come Elvis Presley. And then here comes, who else now? can call every one of them's name, that had a part in it. And I just, right now, I can't really recall just how many, but I know quite a few dabbled in it, but every time they sang it, I got paid.
Did you feel that was something unusual was happening musically in the country when people like Elvis Presley started recording these rhythm and blues songs that used to be just, music
I
that...
think you want to hold for this airplane.
Cut, please. Thanks. How much? Something was really changing in the country? Tell me
Yes,
about that.
there was a change, and in the change, I'm speaking from my point of view, that they wanted to do the black songs because that was what was hitting. At that time, they used to have big bands, and Glenn Miller and all of them, So that was the rage. And the young ladies singing all the love songs, and the young men singing the love song, but that wasn't doing too much. So when they came over into the rock and roll area, Pat Boone, well, it wasn't too much. God bless him. But he knew that he was getting something over, and that was money-wise. Elvis Presley was a big hit, so he knew he could do. Martha Ray was a comedian, but she was out there, so everything she did was a hit. So every hit it was, I was a hit.
Slade, please.
I'll say.
Thanks, I'm sorry.
Tell me just a little bit about what you remember about Fats Domino in those days. Back in the early 50s, he had so many hits, one after
Yes.
the other. What was so great about his music to you?
Well, his style. You have a style of your own, and it took him over the world because of Blueberry Hill and all those songs that he sang. I've forgotten so many of them. And his style, nobody could do his style. See, so that's how he made it to the top.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Cosmo's studio.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember, like when you first went in there? Who would you see, and what was the atmosphere like? Was it a lot of energy, or were people kind of laid back? Or?
No. Let go and let them. But when you go in, you could feel the warmth. See, Cosmo is the type of person you could reach him from any way, any angle. If you was black, it's all right. You was white, it's still all right. He just knew how to mingle and to make you feel warm, make you feel wanted. And I just loved him because he was a beautiful person. Always stayed the same.
What about Little Richard? Was he also warm in that way?
Well, Richard was warm in certain instances, so, he just was a great guy, let me put it that way, to me, for music. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you one more thing. How do you think rock and roll music began? How did it start?
Well, as far as I can relate to it, and I was a young girl back in the hills of Kentucky, I could hear some on the radio, but it really wasn't rock and roll, because mostly where I came from was hillbilly. And then when I left home, I went to Alabama and would listen. Now that's where you get your trend of the blues from Alabama. And Mississippi, where I would go to Jackson, Mississippi, down in Meridian, Mississippi, those places where people had such a hard time, as I said, and they would give out their event in song. You couldn't fight what was going on down there, so you get in the corner and make up a song, get a rubberboard or whatever it may be. And it was sad but beautiful. And
if you had to say who the first rock and roll musician that you'd really call rock and roll, who would you say that would be?
Roy Brown. Yes, sir.
Could you tell me that in a whole sentence and say Roy Brown was the first?
Well, to me, Roy Brown was the first of rock and roll that I felt that really had rock and roll to a point where the young people really got together and had a good time with the jitterbugging. This was one of the dances, the jitterbug. And then when Little Richard came along, see, it was another environment. The wump bum loom up lump bam boom. It didn't come in with Roy Brown's, but it was beautiful. But this was original. Yeah, I remember another. I can't think right now. It hit me just now when you was talking and it passed off. But this guy wrote a song and sold it for $50 and then made $50 million. Rock and roll. And I can't think exactly what the song is now. If I really could get it together, I could tell you about it. It's been so long.
Yeah, this well. Yeah.
And they worked out of Frank Panier's. That's why.
Out of the Dewdrop?
Out of the Dewdrop, yes, indeed.
Did you go there at all? The Dewdrop?
Well, in my later years and being young, I didn't go there when Little Richard and him was there. Mm-hmm. But late I would go to the club and sit down. I never was a drinker. Mm-hmm. But I would go and listen to like Big Mama Thornton and Etta James and all of those big singers would come there. Frank Panier was it was a hit in that day. Frank Panier was something in that day. The Dewdrop.
Who would you like for me to do a video on next? What are your thoughts about this video? Please share them in the comments. Please be honest when answering these questions. Share this video with anyone you deem necessary. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.